Erica. Hi everyone, thanks for coming to see our presentation. I'm Erica Herman.
And I'm Elizabeth Herman, and for our project, we wanted to address menstrual justice at home and abroad by making kits for the organization Days for Girls and raising money and donations for two organizations that work to provide period products for homeless women, the organization Period and Young Women's Rising, #Project Period. So in many countries, women do not have access to safe menstrual hygiene products. In India, only 12% of women use sanitary pads, while the rest use newspapers, leaves, or socks and rags filled with materials like sand, which can cause infections, pregnancy complications, and cervical cancer. In Zimbabwe, some women use cloth or cotton wool, while others use newspapers, tissues, and cow dung. In the Chinese desert, women use cactus leaves, which have serrated edges that cause cuts and scarring.
One major obstacle for safe menstrual practices are taboos, a social or religious custom forbidding discussion or association with a practice, person, place, or thing. The taboos surrounding menstruation inhibit the development of safe, medically accurate education and encourage the mistreatment of menstruating women and girls. In Nepal, there is a practice called chapati where menstruating girls and women sleep outside. And many believe that menstruating girl, if they break the rules of chapati, risk angering the gods and inviting misfortune on her family. Since 2007, at least 10 deaths related to chapati have been reported in the district of Acham in Nepal. Causes of death include carbon monoxide poisoning and wild animal attacks. These are examples of chapati huts. Chapati was outlawed by Nepal's Supreme Court in 2005, but has been extremely difficult to end. The 2011 UN report estimated 95% of women in the Acham district still follow the practice. There are many groups around the world that are trying to end taboos and stigma against periods. In India, a group of medical students at the Calicut Medical College launched a contest called Haiku, encouraging students to submit short works under 140 characters about menstruation to get young people to speak more openly about periods. For many girls in developing countries and in rural areas, the only way to get period products is to find a man who will buy them, often in exchange for sex. This increases sex trafficking and sexual abuse. In rural Western Kenya, 2/3 of women aged 13 to 29 who use sanitary pads reported receiving them from sexual partners. Respondents are more likely to receive the pads if they have more than one sexual partner, so this places girls at increased risks of HIV or unwanted pregnancy. The organization that we decided to focus on is Days for Girls, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that works to create a more dignified and humane, sustainable world for girls through advocacy, reproduction health awareness, education, and sustainable feminine hygiene. Chapters of and volunteers for the organization create menstrual hygiene kits for girls who lack access to menstrual hygiene and or face stigma in their communities. Each of these kits can last up to 3 years and give 180 days back to the girls who receive them. The focus of the organization is to keep the girls in school. We have a video that Days for Girls produces.
My passion as a girl was to become a doctor. But since my periods were getting in my way, spending my days because I was menstruating was really a lonely journey. My mama left me when I was very young, so when I started my menstruation, she was not there like to tell me or to guide me on what to do.
Some girls, they don't attend school because of the periods.
That means that you're going to miss school like 5 days every month. Every time your menstruation comes, you are going to be just inside the house like you are sick because you can't go outside.
In Kenya, it is very normal. You are told to have boyfriend and then he can give you money to buy the pads. So you will just have to maybe sleep with the boy and then he will give you money to buy the pads. And that is very risky for a girl because if you get pregnant, there is no going on in school.
Wait!
My dream, my passion is to become a doctor.
Days for Girls Kitty, it is so beautiful. I love it because of the colors that they use. They make you feel good. They use the flannel material, and the flannel material, it is very soft, it is very friendly, it is easy to wash, and it lasts 3 to 4 years. It makes you feel like a very beautiful person.
I am free, I am comfortable. I can just jump the way I want. I can play sports, I can play basketball, I can play football, anything that I want to do. I am just confident about myself while in that Days for Girls Kid.
They want girls to stay in school.
Maybe they will be the doctors of tomorrow, the president of tomorrow. You can't know now.
So my passion is just to keep the girls in school and reach every girl outside there so that they can stay in school.
So each Days for Girls kits includes one drawstring bag, 2 shields, which have snaps that you can snap around the underwear, and they have a layer of waterproof in the middle, which is called pull.
Sewn inside, you can't see it.
There are 8 absorbent trifold liners that go into the shields. There are 2 pairs of underwear, 1 bar of soap, 2 washcloths, and 2 Ziploc bags, which are used for storage, and also as a washing machine. You can put water inside and then put the used liners and shields inside and then wash them. The Days for Girls kits were designed through close communication with the recipient communities. Their feedback helped determine appropriate fabric colors and patterns, shield and liner sizes, and other necessary components. For example, the soap used to be sent still in the wrapper, but the communities to which they were sent couldn't handle even the small amount of garbage that is produced, so that now they send them unwrapped. The bright and colorful patterns of the shields and liners help to minimize staining, and the liners unfold to look like a washcloth, so when they're washed and hung out to dry, which is really necessary for sanitation, they can do so without embarrassment.
All Days for Girls kits are distributed with health education. Volunteers, either in the communities or traveling abroad, can partake in Days for Girls Ambassador Women's Health Program, which prepares the distributors to speak on leadership, health topics, and safety for women and girls. The things that they learn about that they pass on to the recipients of the kits include the story of Days for Girls, leadership, reproductive anatomy, explanation of the menstrual cycle, hygiene, self-defense, and how to train others in their own communities so that the spread of the knowledge continues. Kit distributors also have a program for men so that the whole community can learn about women's health, safety, and hopefully remove taboos. So far, Days for Girls has reached over 640,000 women in over 100 countries, and they are on target to reach 1 million women by the end of 2017.
So this is a map of where in the world the kits have been distributed. Can you see it? So the blue are the chapter and team locations, so this is where they make the kits. And then the number of kits is the gradient of yellow to red, starting with 10 to 10,000.
Another important aspect of the Days for Girls mission is the enterprise model, which encourages communities to become self-sustaining. The enterprise model begins with Days for Girls University, and Days for Girls Universities are located in Uganda and Ghana, and they teach women how to make and sell kits so that they can return to their own communities and start micro-enterprises. The women learn how to make reusable menstrual pads and how to support awareness and facilitate discussions around menstrual hygiene. The Days for Girls University team travels across Ghana and Uganda, providing 3 programs to address the menstrual hygiene needs of the communities and create employment opportunities for women in the communities. So the 3 programs they offer are the centers, which provide kits, materials, and training for women so they can start their own enterprises. And the centers are in Kampala, Uganda, Accra, Ghana, and Kathmandu, Nepal, and there are also 2 centers that are being started in South Africa and Guyana. The micro-enterprises are women in their own communities, sewing and selling kits to people in their communities, and then providing health education for that community. So it's a smaller group within just a single community. And then ambassadors are people who work in their own communities selling pre-made Days for Girls kits, so that would be an option for a community that might not have access to a sewing machine. The Days for Girls enterprise model gets women the tools they need to make the kits so that they can generate an income by selling kits and reinvest some of the money they make into buying more tools so that they can make more kits and spread them to more girls. The program has transformed the Days for Girls International mission into a sustainable, locally oriented model, and the Days for Girls enterprise programs are in over 10 countries. So in this map, the countries that are yellow have the centers, which are the more established groups, and then the purple are the micro enterprises, which are the community organizations that are just run by individual women. And so currently, Days for Girls also has a project in Lebanon, which focuses on providing menstrual hygiene, education, and programming to Syrian and Palestinian refugees. Days for Girls hopes that in the future, the countries that they assist will be 100% self-sustaining, and the chapters outside of the recipient communities will no longer be necessary.
So our process making Days for Girls kits started with reaching out to Jan Baker, who runs the Simsbury chapter. She invited us to one of the group's monthly workshops where new and recurring volunteers gather from 9 to 3 to work on sewing and packing the kits. She and the experienced members of the group taught us how to sew each of the different components, how to use a serger, which is the machine Elizabeth is using there, and about the work that they do. Their chapter mostly distributes in Ghana and Uganda. They lent us the serger, as I said, and they also gave us all of the material that we used to make our kits, and then we just gave all of our finished products back to them, and they will finish putting the snaps on, and they will take them when they go next. So Jan also told us that in one of the areas that they distributed, they were told that the girls recently surpassed the boys in academic achievement for the first time since they were able to stay in school. We created 19 bags, 49 shields, which is enough to fill 24 kits, and 199 liners, which is also enough to fill 24 kits with a few left over. And our goal was to make 20 kits.
So then the United States. In the United States, access to menstrual hygiene products continues to be an issue. Inmates and the homeless have very little access to menstrual hygiene products, and any discussions about periods in politics, school, or in the news often elicits laughter rather than real substantive conversation, which makes it difficult for leaders of the movement to create any real change. In prisons, different states have different laws regarding access to menstrual hygiene products, but most prisons share a common scarcity of the products and high cost. In The Guardian, Chandra Badalka wrote about her experience at the York Correctional Institution in Niantic, Connecticut, where she spent 6 years. There, each double occupancy cell received 5 pads per week to split, or 10 pads total per woman, allowing for only 1 change a day, assuming a woman has a 5-day average cycle. These products are often low quality and function poorly, so resulting stains on their clothing seep into their self-esteem and serve as a reminder of their powerlessness while they are in prison. At another prison in New York, doctors even insisted that women show a bag filled with their used pads in order to get more. So some states are making changes so that women have more access to the pads and can be more confident. And so in Colorado, women in prisons will no longer have to spend $7 for a box of tampons because an amendment to the state's latest budget bill will provide free tampons at an estimated cost of $40,000 out of a $26.8 billion budget, 0.00014% of the budget. So outside of prisons, and just in the general world, the cost of tampons and pads at $7 to $10 each month can be one expense too many for many struggling families. Yet they are left to find them on their own, even though other similarly necessary products like toilet paper are available freely in public restrooms and are seen as a sanitation necessity and are readily available. The cost of these products is also increased by the tampon tax, which we'll discuss shortly. So a lot of people have started advocating for free menstrual products in all public restrooms outside of the home. One woman who advocates for this, named Nancy Kramer, has worked with a lot of different companies to get free menstrual products in their restrooms, and her calculations have estimated that it costs about $4.67 per woman to provide free pads and tampons for a year. In her words, for less than a fancy cup of coffee at Starbucks, you can supply women in your place of business, school, and worship with these items.
So the name tampon tax is a bit of a misnomer because menstrual hygiene products are not taxed additionally, rather they're just not tax exempt as many other medical necessities are. So So the map that you see up here shows in brown the states where menstrual products are taxed, in pink where they are tax exempt, the yellow has no statewide sales tax, and then purple, Connecticut, will be tax exempt in 2018. So here's a couple of things in the US that are tax-free. Bagged salads in Colorado, seasoned croutons in Texas, manicures and massages in West Virginia, rodeos in South Dakota, BBQ sunflower seeds in Indiana, golf memberships in Rhode Island, and Mardi Gras beads in Louisiana. In all of the states that I just mentioned, menstrual products are taxed. In the US, 3 states eliminated the tampon tax in 2016. It was New York, Illinois, and Connecticut. And the 15 out of the 40 remaining states that still had the tampon tax moved to change it, and the American Medical Association released a statement urging states to exempt menstrual products from sales tax.
So the issue in the United States that we really focused on was access to menstrual products for homeless women. Tampons and sanitary pads are often at the top of the list of needs for homeless shelters, but because they are expensive and people often don't think to donate them, they are not often donated, and clean showers are also scarce, and poor hygiene during menstruation can lead to infections, so it is very dangerous. A shelter even said that they were more likely to get donations of food, clothing, money, toothbrushes, or razors than donations of menstrual hygiene products, so they are in dire need. The inability to access menstrual products is not only unsanitary and unhealthy, but it also leaves homeless people stuck wearing blood-soaked clothing for days or even weeks, causing discomfort and embarrassment.
So the 2 organizations that we focused on is Period, the menstrual movement, and Young Women Rising's #Project Period. So Period was founded in 2014 by 2 high school students, Nadia Okamoto and Vincent Foran, after realizing that menstrual products were not reliably available to those who needed them the most. Period is a 501c3 nonprofit organization run by young activists. They're leading the menstrual movement by changing the conversation around periods and providing care to those in need. The organization has 3 goals: to serve, educate, and advocate. With the support of partners, sponsors, and individuals, they deliver period packs to those in need. They work to eliminate taboos through working with a growing network of high school, college, and community chapters. They also raise awareness and create change through events, campaigns, and media relationships. Current goals for them include repealing the tampon tax and lobbying for menstrual products in public places. Young Women Rising is a project of the Connecticut Commission on Women, Children, and Seniors, and they host #Project Period, a campaign that aims to gather menstrual supplies for women currently living in shelters and safe houses who lack access to these items. So, our contribution, we hung up these flyers around the school in the bathrooms. We put out a daily bulletin post with links to our GoFundMe, which I will talk about, and to all of the information about these different organizations. We also placed donation boxes in the 6 girls' dorms around campus to get physical donations of pads, tampons, and hand sanitizers. We will be collecting donations until Wednesday, so we would appreciate donations of these pads, tampons, and hand sanitizers. Currently, you can only find boxes in Amazon, Palmer, and Cutler, and we will also be placing this box here, so if you come back to other senior projects, bring some donations. We also are we'll be here at all of the senior project presentations, so we will also collect money if you can't donate through our GoFundMe, which I will discuss, and if you aren't able to buy pads, tampons, or hand sanitizer.
And we'll use this money to buy products that we'll give to Project Period.
So we supported Period through a GoFundMe, and as of today, we've raised $2,601 from 49 people in 12 days. Our GoFundMe is still active, and you can donate by going to gofundme.com/periods, and any amount would help.
So throughout this project, we really began to understand the magnitude of this issue. Going into the project, we knew that menstrual hygiene access was an important and often neglected issue, but we really did not understand the scale that it existed on. Through our project, we have not only gained the skills to make dates for girls' kits, but we have also become more educated on the issue of menstrual hygiene access and how to fight for it. We'd like to thank Jan of the Simsbury chapter, who really set us up with everything we needed and gave us so much help. Our project sponsors, Ms. Appel and Mrs. Duconic, who taught us how to sew freshman year, and to everyone who donated to our GoFundMe and brought in product donations. We really appreciate your So we are optimistic that with further education, advocacy, and policy changes, we will all one day reach the level of openness about periods demonstrated in this video by David Diggs, original cast member of the Broadway hit musical.
Yo, it's David from Hamilton. Happy Menstrual Awareness Day. Shout out to Margot. Shout out to Weed Racket. Hashtag periods without shame. Make it rain.
Thank you for coming to our presentation.
Erica, Elizabeth.
Questions?
Yeah.
Yep. First one is there a fee for girls to attend that university that's in?
I'm not sure. I think they often use donation money to fund the university. They have like a certain amount of money where they say like $100 does this, and I think a lot of the donation money does go towards funding the universities. So if there is a cost, it's a very low cost.
My second question is, on campus, where do you think would be the most appropriate class or at least source so that people can get more educated on menstrual health?
Sophomore year.
Yeah, fit well. But I think just opening the conversation in general, removing the stigma is so important. So really, any venue can be made appropriate.
How much do the kits run in terms of what do they cost the girls as soon as they're distributed?
So most girls get them for free if they're getting them from places that have made them. But when they make
In the micro enterprises, when the women in their own communities make them, they sell them for a profit. I don't think it's too expensive, but there are, so you can either pay or get them for free. It kind of depends on the place and the situation.
And you said your sponsor will deliver, so
Yeah,
she-
Yeah, they're gonna-
they go on trips and they're trained in health education, so they bring the kits there and they teach the girls who they distribute about the kits and about menstrual hygiene and all of that, and then they give them the kits.
How did you guys come across this cause, or what inspired you guys to pick this specific cause?
I just kind of happened upon Days for Girls online a few years ago and thought it was really cool, and then when senior projects rolled around, I was kind of like, that could make a cool project, and then it turned into this.
Have you thought about a way, or have you talked to Mrs. DeConnick or Mrs. Henderson about having the community service program continue to do this in the
We
future?
actually were talking about having
Yeah,
a
we were
community
talking
service program continuing making kits.
It's all up to Mrs. DeConner.
Yeah.
She's up to it.
I mean, because some of the sewing, like if you're very new to it, it does take practice, but we'd also need a serger, but serging is super easy, so people who are just learning can just sit there and serge all day. And when you're more experienced, like after a couple of tries, like going around the corners on the shields and stuff, I got really good at it, and just all the 49 shields, I was like, I got this, and I just sat there for days and was just going through all of it, so.
You find the thing you
Yeah.
like and you stick with it.
Like,
There
that's
are a
really
lot of
good.
different
Yeah.
components that you can make. So like I really enjoyed the serging, which is like the finished edges on the liners. So I would just sit there for hours and like go around in circles, and I found that fun, but she preferred
Yeah.
the liners.
And that's
So it's
what
kind
they
of
do
fun.
at their workshops too. They just designate one person to sit there ripping up fabrics, one person to sit there serging. And so we just wanted the experience of doing every component of making the kits so that we would know how to do all aspects.
I've noticed that, well, at least with the picture, majority of the offices were based in the United States, but there aren't any programs. Do they have programs like exactly like this, but not in Uganda, but rather in the States, where it could be accessible for?
That was my question when we were researching about like homeless women and like could this be an option? I think Days for Girls specifically focuses abroad.
And there are some like things to consider. Like in a lot of shelters, time in the restroom is very limited, and like people in the shelter will not allow people to stay in the restroom for long periods of time. And like, you do have to sit down and wash the kid out with soap. And like as I was saying, they don't have a lot like access to showers as much, so it's like harder to clean it, and it might be easier to just get something that's already clean. But it totally depends on the place and the situation. And there, I mean, on the map it seemed like there had been some kits
Yeah.
distributed in the United States, just not as many.
They just
Is there anything at Loomis like that you would change about how you talk about menstruation or periods, or if you talk about it at all, or just like how you tackle the issue?
As we were doing our project, we opening it up and practicing. We got so comfortable with it. Now we're just like,
So I know that both of you are going to women's colleges that really focus a lot on these types of issues just on a day-to-day basis. And I was wondering if either of you have plans to kind of continue your project once you got into college.
Yeah, so we looked to see if either college has a chapter of Days for Girls, and either college does. So that might be something that we both
we will look into
decide to
the
do.
organization Period that we were talking about, the nationwide one that distributes period times to homeless women. That also neither of them have chapters in our schools, so both of those are kind of options that we can explore.
I was just wondering if you could expand a little bit upon like a part of the video where it was like giving 180 days back to girls and all that. Like, so basically in like certain parts of the world, like depending on like what the stigma around like menstruation and periods is it like that they just like miss like substantial amounts of school due to
They
that?
just sit at home.
Uh-huh.
Because a lot of them.
It's either sit at home on something or like bleed all over the place.
Okay.
So
And then in some countries such as Nepal, they have them.
Well, yeah, like
But that's why it's 180 days back. Like they can go to school and like go places if they have these kids. So.
do like I was just wondering, do like some of them like simply stop going to school because of just like the
Yeah.